Oh, friends, it feels like a heat wave today. I even hear water falling where the ice is melting and snow. I bet it is every bit of like 32 degrees today. I don't know. Well, it would have to be more than that because 32 is freezing. So maybe it's 35. But at any rate, the sun's out, stuff is melting, and that can't help but put a smile on your face. And I got something in the mail that hopefully will even put more of a smile on my face. And we're gonna mess with that right after this. All right, welcome back. If you haven't seen my videos before, I'm Rusty Oliver Man. And this back here is the Super 66, which I bought out of the woods. I saw an ad for it one morning on Facebook Marketplace, and I recognized that with those flat plates on the side, and you could see in the picture it was a 4-cylinder, it either had to be a Super 66 or a 660. So I messaged the people and I said, I'll take it. I said, market sold. And so they said, okay. And then they said, what time today are you coming to pick it up? And I said, well, I don't know. What time do I need to? And they said, well, as soon as possible, because there's a whole bunch of people waiting for it if you don't take it. So I said, well, I'll hook up the trailer and I'll leave right now. It wasn't that far from my house, really, in the grand scheme of things. Maybe about 3 or 4 miles at the most. However, that day, the river had come out and I couldn't go that way. So what was a simple 10-15 minute drive was actually 45 minutes to an hour to drive the long way around to get to it. But I knew I had to because people were after it. And it was what I thought was a good deal. I think it was 500 bucks. And of course it was junk, and I ended up rebuilding the motor and whatever. But a Super 66 for, I probably got maybe $1,000 to $1,100 in it, I think, with what I did to it. Maybe slightly more than that because I did put tires on it, but they were actually the cheapest tires I've ever bought, I think, because I think they were like $200 or less a piece. So that was nice. But without rambling on and on and on and on, the point of today's adventure is when I had got that all said and done and, you know, got it running and messed with it and whatever, the brakes were cobbled up. And I don't even know that he had anything on the one side on the rod, but we're going to look at that here in a minute. But on the threaded rod, there's a threaded rod that sticks through, and then there's always a anyway, as I was saying, this GoPro's getting a lot worse, so I'm gonna have to probably ditch it before too long. One of the things, I mean, I had to go through this from back to front, because front to back, however you want to look at it, because everything on it was junk and cobbled. I can try to put some pictures in of how it was. And so when I was messing with the brakes, they were not right. He had every combination of cobbling imaginable. And right now, I'm pretty sure that I put brand new brake discs in it, but I ain't got no pedal. And there's a reason why. Because I didn't have one of these. This is the little ball nut that goes on that threaded rod, and that's what you turn in to get your different adjustment of pedal. The 66 and Super 66 and probably 660 take a different size one than all the other tractors. And I could not make that happen. I could not find one anywhere. Everybody I asked said no, don't have one. So last night, or not last night, but a couple nights ago on the old electronic bay, I was looking and I found one used 66 Super 66 nut. And then a little ways down I saw one new old stock 66 Super 66 ball nut. So I'm hoping that with those two things, I will be able to make this the way that it's supposed to be. And then I might possibly have brakes so that I don't run into stuff, or when I unload it off a trailer, I don't fear for my life. However, we probably need to, it probably would be a good idea to just take those brake covers off and refresh my memory, because I don't remember what I did to this. It was so long ago. I mean, this was a project that I did. It was before YouTube, but it was actually during the Corona era, if you know what I'm saying. It was a project I worked on while the whole world was shut down. And so, I don't know. It took a long time to get parts sometimes, but it was something for me to occupy my time while we were sitting at home doing nothing. And so that's why cosmetically it did not do the greatest. The longevity of whatever I had available at the time is not holding up. So it needs a definite cosmetic update at some point, but I will satisfy for now to just be able to use it for something here and there. The hood on it is miserable, and it would probably be better to just find a different one if you could find a Super 66 hood out there and get it to here reasonably, because as rough as that looks, I don't know if you can see that. We're going to have to go on the other side here in a minute anyway, so I probably should just crawl over and what have you, but I better take a piece of cardboard to lay upon if I have to sit on the ground. But we'll climb over here and I'll keep going with my story. But this hood, I spent I don't know how long just hammering it back into hood shape. This was caved in pretty far. It didn't have any curtains on it, and the hood was pushed into probably about here. The exhaust had a little short thing with a bunch of reducers on it where it was down to like 1 inch in size, which probably wasn't very good for it when it was running last. But anyway, I got it kind of rounded back. It's not good at all. It needs a lot more body work. So, but I wanted to drive it, so I put it back together and just made it do until later. These aren't the best. They were about impossible to find a set. I found these, and like I said, they were better than none, but probably should just order a new set sometime. The back panels aren't too bad, but I don't know. It's all original parts. It's just rough original parts. So I'm trying to make my way down here to see what's happening. Now this one actually has the ball nut on it still, so I'm trying to figure out why does this one have no brakes. Let's take this off and see. I really need to keep an eye on you because this GoPro is proving to be super unreliable, and it really bums me out when I do all this work and then there's no usable footage. However, along with these today in the mailbox was another box that had some wasabi batteries, which should fit my old GoPro, and perhaps it will work better than this one, which is really a shame that an older one would do better than a newer one, but at this point I'm over it. I think I've picked out, I've been looking at different cameras and even different brands, and I thought about switching to a different brand, but watching side-by-side comparisons, the GoPro still has the best video look when it's done, the best finished film quality, I think, or true to life coloring almost, even though the GoPro doesn't have that great a true to life coloring. It's better than some of those others. So I don't know, but I'm working on that for you, and I'm also working on wireless microphone, because that was something that everybody always complains they'd like to have, and I think I found a setup where I can use it, and if the microphone cuts out, it will revert back to the internal microphone so we won't have any problems. Okay, what's happening here? Did I not bring enough stuff with me? Something ain't kosher here. And I'm all the way to the ground. Isn't that sad? There we go. I bet I know what that is. I bet this one I had to use the silicone trick because I bet it was too tight at one way, and I don't know, but it sure is. It's probably not helping that it's so cold outside. I mean, it's winter, and this moron's out here working on tractor projects in the winter. Boy, I don't remember doing that, but I did. Yeah, I used the trick with boy, my brake seal's leaking already, huh? Looks a little damp-ish. Not super damp, and it's dry down here, but I guess it's better than nothing. I don't really know why this side wasn't working, other than maybe I just didn't have it tight enough. That seems unusual. Maybe there was a reason why. Mine is not the reason why. Just invert and multiply. Now that I've broken my seal that I made, and dirt and moisture will get in here, I'm sure it will. So apparently, because that looks like the right thing there. I don't know what I was thinking. This is probably an example of one of those things where I meant to get back to that and I didn't. Unless I left this more loose, because I think what I did, well, there's two possibilities of why I might let this loose. Number one was, since the other side didn't have the right stuff, I couldn't get it tight enough, and maybe my thinking was I wanted the brake pedals to be more even, and so I didn't tighten this one all the way up. Number two possibility is that after a little bit of use, these brake discs wore down more, just enough that now it's not doing what it's supposed to. Possibility number three is I'm a moron. That's very possible, and that's moving to place number one. But the real truth is what probably happened is I probably put it together this far and then meant to go back and retighten them after driving it a little bit and never got back to that. But that's fine, because that means I didn't just dream it. You know, that's what I was worried about. I thought I probably never really put new brakes in it, and I wanted to just verify that. So we know that that is the truth now, and yeah. So on your bigger tractors, the adjuster is usually down like over in this area here, and this one is up here in the very hard to get to, not appropriate under the floorboard location. And if I remember right, what makes these different from the others is this one has 3/8 fine thread hole, whereas the other ones have like a 1/2 inch, I think, or something, 11/16. I don't remember. Really doesn't matter right now. What does matter is, am I really doing what I'm supposed to? The other possibility, which is slightly coming back to me now after this long, is that I hope that these brake pedals aren't junk, For some reason, I was thinking one of them was very bad, and it would not, like, it was so wore in there that there was nothing for this to even bite against. But I'm hoping that I'm just imagining and having a bad dream. I am getting more brake pedal, so that's good to know. It kind of fools you because of the return spring. Like especially on this one, I guess I have a really good or powerful return spring. But it would be nice to know like where it felt like it was releasing. I don't know, that kind of feels like I got brakes now. A little bit better. If we go too much, it's going to heat up and drag and all kinds of stuff. I'm going to go with that. I think I made that better. Of course, we won't know till we drive it. And the question's going to be, will that tractor start in order to drive this tractor? I don't know. But we'll figure it out some way. We always do. Let's switch to the other side, which needs the new piece. Oh, if you thought I was going to crawl out, you're wrong. I'm going to just wedge myself underneath and go again. All right. So here we have a conglomeration of sadness that is, in fact, going to make me have to get up out of here. I don't remember what I wedged in there, but I see 2 3/8 fine thread nuts, and I don't remember what's down at the bottom, a bigger nut or what have you, but I'm gonna have to get a wrench to fit these, and then from there we can disassemble and see what we need. I would say that for today we ought to just use the used one, and we'll save the new one for a rainy day, because sometimes these things break, or you strip them out, or you twist off the rod, or whatever. But basically, this is just a ball on the end of a nut, but there's only threads in the ball part. The rest of it, like till about, I don't know, till about there. Maybe there's threads. The rest of it is larger and hollow, and that lets it, well, you're not fighting this whole length. If this was totally threaded all the way through, you'd have a heck of a time trying to screw that on and off. But enough rambling. Let me grab a 3/8, not a 3/8, but actually a 9/16 wrench, which fits 3/8 fasteners. And we will take that loose. All right, friend. Are you still there? That was exercise. I don't remember how bad this was, but I'm thinking it was pretty bad. And I think that what this guy had on it was like one of these, a bunch of flat washers, and a stack of nuts that were wedged in there. And I don't even know what all. He might have had the, maybe the bottom part of it was there and I struggled to get it apart. I don't remember. I just know it was a problem. And I think at that time, and I can't answer that either without taking more apart, but I was thinking that I found one of the rods, new old stock, but I wasn't able to find. See, there I had a little bushing, and I think at the bottom of that hole is another flat washer. And how I'm gonna get that out of there, I'll never know. But see, this might have been the one that was, in bad shape and about pulled through. The thing that a guy ought to do is take the pedal loose and see, but It's kind of a pain to take this loose. This is not the way these originally were made. I don't believe. I think that what they had originally was it had a pin on the back side only. I had these pins made because what was there was just totally garbage, and the brake pedal had so much sloppy in it that, yeah, I can't get that washer out that I put in there. That's what I'm doing right now. If you're wondering why am I making this so difficult. I remember thinking, it'll be so easy when I finally find the real stuff. I will just make it make sense and it'll be fine. Let's try this little red straw. Can I get that behind that thing and flip it up out of there? Probably not. There. Yeah, I beat that washer round, I think, is how I did it. Either that or life beat it round, I don't remember. But the brake pedal feels, just going by the eye on the end of my finger, it feels appropriately sized for what we're gonna do here. But actually what I probably should do is take those 3/8 nuts that I just took off, put one on each side as a lock nut. The later tractors, like your 50 series and 55, 1655, 1555, they all had, you had this ball nut and then you had a lock nut right above it. But I don't know on these Supers. I think they did too. Super 88, pretty sure it has one. But what I was working with here was pretty well all long gone because the tractor was not taken care of in its latter days. I don't know what it was like early on, but quite honestly, I don't think, I know I sound like I'm just rambling on and on and on now, but I don't think that this tractor has a ton of hours on it. I might be wrong about that, but there's just things about it that felt like it was still nice and tight and stuff. Maybe I'm wrong though, but I think this is the one where the transmission just feels excellent, like the shifting, but maybe they wore it out and had the dealer rebuild it, and, you know. I'm sure the guy that I got it from was not the original owner, so it's hard to say what. Oh, we're still a ways away. We got a long way to go. A short time to get there. I just punched you in the face, didn't I? Yeah, I can see the slack we're taking up now. We got a long way. And of course it's, well, I might be able to turn some by hand. That doesn't quite fit in there. Of course, if I hadn't brought the world's longest wrench that I own, I probably would be having a much better time. Also, if I didn't have you sitting right in the path that the wrench needs to travel, that would probably also help my cause. And we're still a ways away. See how it dropped? Because it's so far away, there's a lot of slop to take up yet. But I don't know if we're doing it or not. Are we doing any good favors to it? Oh yes, friends. We got us some brakes now. Let's climb up here so you can see the pedal travel. But I think as long as that isn't going to let them drag. They've never really been used, so if they burn in a little bit, it'll probably help to see. Okay, if I lock that one down, where that one's down to where there's tension on it. I'm trying to see if I got them even. I think that side, the far side, could be tightened up a little bit more. But this side has never really done much. So maybe it needs a little more use, and then we can retighten it later. But we finally got us some brakes. I mean, it was getting treacherous because I would forget about it. Like when we unloaded it at the fair, I forgot when I was backing it off. I thought, oh, this one doesn't have any brakes. I forgot. And that can get you into trouble. So now I'm thinking, what if a guy just put this on there to help keep our adjustment the way it's supposed to be, even though that's not really the, like on the other tractors, or this one too, if it was the way it was actually supposed to be, the nut would have 3/8 threads, but it would be the same size as this, or the very next size down. I want to say on some it's like 3/4, and then the lock nut's 11/16 or what have you. But this is better than nothing, because we got the hardest to find thing that we didn't have, and that's dandy, friends. It's dandy. Let's go ahead and back to the other side, and we'll put the lock nut on there, and we might tighten it up another chunk or so, just so we can say that we did. Then we'll try to climb out of here and see where we stand. We might, if I can get the 1365 started easy, we could back this out no problem. But we're gonna have to see if that will work out in my plans. All right. Did we decide we were gonna give this one a little bit more? I think we did that at the executive board meeting a few minutes ago. It also would be easier if I did that without the tension on it, you know? All right, let's... That's pretty good, and you might ask yourself, what's it matter? Well, I want the pedals to be even, so when you hit that equalizer pedal in the center, it's not trying to go where one's trying to go to the floor, and you know what I'm saying? We can talk about that here in a second too. Let's finish what we started here. Let's put this lock nut on, or the nut that we're using as a lock nut. Okay, so what I was rambling on about is, this is a pretty good illustration. That brake's locked down, but imagine it wasn't, and imagine you wanted to hit both brakes at the same time, so you hit the center equalizer pedal. Well, if this brake gets tight here and that one doesn't get tight to the floor, that's kind of an awkward thing. So it's a lot better if you keep them adjusted fairly even, so when you push the equalizer pedal, they travel even if you have to hit both brakes. So there's that. But I'm pumped, friends. I looked for years. This is 5 years now I've looked for one of those, and I managed to find 2 of them. So I got a spare, which is something I like to do with a lot of stuff. Make sure I got a spare, especially if it's something hard to find. Yeah. And you can see, like in the time I overhauled it, this tractor has gotten 6 hours on it so far. So that's how many hours are on this brand new motor that I built. I've used it, I don't even know, did I ever rake hay with it? Maybe not on film. I might have raked hay with it one time. I remember pulling the head wagon for the combine with it one time to the field, or used it out there. And I don't think that I've really done much of anything with it. And that's a shame. I putted around here in the yard moving equipment with it and stuff. But it's time to, you know, time for it to shine. It's time to shine. We need to get it out and make something happen with it. I don't know that we will do that in this video particularly, because it's probably about time for me to leave for the afternoon, as most days are. yeah, there's really not enough time to play, but I don't know. Another project off the list, a minor project perhaps. It's just the way it is with anything. Like I said before, most of the tractors came as junk, so I try to get them where they run and drive, and then there's always stuff to do later on. And this one is slowly getting to where it's about as good as it can be, with the exception of cosmetics now are where it needs to go from here. What else to say? Well, another oddball thing about this little feller is by the Super era, a lot of people were probably pretty well done with mechanical lift, or so you would think, but this one has one instead of hydraulics. So that's kind of maybe interesting a little bit on Supers. Supers you did see mechanical lifts on, but you know, the hydraulics were the up and coming thing. And then another thing is this one's got a belt pulley, and you know, that was another thing in the Supers you were seeing less of, because most people were moving on to power takeoff driven stuff and not as much belt driven stuff. But you know, in that era you still had guys who they decided they wanted a new tractor, but they still did things the old way, and they had all the old stuff. So if I had a 66 with cultivators and I decided I wanted a Super 66 and I didn't want to spend money on a new set of cultivators, why, I'd just get my Super 66 with the mechanical lift, and the cultivators would bolt right on and nothing would change, but I'd have a shiny new tractor. And the same way with the belt pulley. Well, I'm not going to update all my equipment and buy a PTO feed grinder and whatever else, and how would I cut my wood in the winter time? So I'll just order the Super 66 with a belt pulley, and I can run my buzz saw and hammer mill and different things, and we're good to go. And this one, of course, I talked about that in a video, several videos before, but not too long ago I mentioned it. This one actually has a different size belt pulley, being a Super 66 instead of a 88 or a 77. I mean, this has a L691 pulley, whereas the other ones, they're all K691 pulleys, and it's a smaller diameter. Something to do with the engine speed and whatever to match up. But when you look at it, it may be hard to tell on film, but it is much physically smaller, much smaller than your regular 77, 88, 66 belt pulley, because this one doesn't have any space in the back that you can stick. The other ones have like cutouts, spokes almost, I guess you'd call them, but this one is solid all the way around. So it's a smaller diameter, and it does the engine, works with the engine speed to make it what you want. Also, I guess points of interest while we're here, even though I don't mean to ramble, but I'm going to. It was always puzzling to me that on the Super Series, they did away with the dash light. I don't really understand why they did that, because that to me seems like we're going backwards in progress, you know. The fleet lines, 66, 77, 88, all had a light up here, dash light, and the Super Series tractor does not. I guess I left this sitting gear. All right. So what else? Well, in addition to no dash light, this particular one, I don't know what this one's got a tachometer, and I don't know that that was standard yet. I'm thinking that on this one, this must have been an option, and I might be wrong on that, but I was thinking that if they had a tachometer, I know the diesels had that little tachometer that sat on the side of the block, but I didn't think that they had this style bracket yet. I was thinking this is more of a Super or a 660 thing, but maybe they did it already then. I don't know, but that's another difference between this and a regular 66 is we have a tachometer, you know, and then consequently it has a key switch over there on the side, and I'm pretty sure that the rest of the Supers, which I have never had one that was perfectly original, but I was thinking that the key switch on early Supers was down here, and then they finally changed it to the improved ones to the dash because the keys would fall out. But again, I'm no expert on that much of it, because I never remember around here, well, I know there were some around here, but Super Series tractors, I'm trying to think of, I don't know where I could tell you that there was a bunch of original ones around. I know there was one not too far from my house I've worked on several times. A guy had a Super 88 diesel. Then there was a Super 77 in, probably 10-15 miles from here. So there were some around, but it seems like I don't remember seeing those Super Series tractors as much as I saw Fleetline tractors around. And maybe again I'm wrong on that. As a kid, I'm thinking back to years ago. So what I'm saying is, I never really got a chance to see them when they were in their original states, around this area. By the time I saw them and realized Super Series tractor, they'd already been cobbled on and things changed and added. So I can't definitively tell you what I know about key switches and tachometer brackets and things, because I haven't seen that many Supers in their original form. This tractor here, though, I will say, provided me a lot of insight on how they did things originally, because that's another reason why I wonder if it hadn't had very many hours, because there were so many things on it that were just exactly the way they were when they left the factory. Just the way that the wiring ran, it was all original wires, and a lot of it, the stuff under the dash, clips and things like that. There was a lot of things I learned from this one because it was still there, and you don't always see that when you work on them. It's fun to work on tractors when you find them in the wild, because you do learn things about how they actually were put together. There's a lot of people who think they know what happened, or they guess what happened, but none of that is as true as when you find the tractor that's still the way that it was. So yeah, there's that. That was interesting. And I don't know, that's about all I know to say about this. I don't know, though, that the one thing that makes me question if this really truly was a low-hour tractor is the drawbar is just beat to death. And I think I actually even welded that up, that hole. But that's not necessarily means that it had a lot of hours from this particular. That could have come off something else, or they could have just severely abused it in the last part of its life, because like I said, it was living in a woods with no sheet metal on it. So it's hard to say, but maybe what it was doing wasn't a lot of transmission work. I don't know. I don't think it'll start. I think the battery's dead. Well, it probably would start, but I don't have the gas on. That's what I figured. Battery is dead, so we'll just wait till it's warm and we'll deal with it. But it is a running and driving tractor because I just drove it in here. So we'll tackle that some other time. But for now, I guess we'll leave this one here. After watching what you just saw, do you feel like your IQ has dropped lower than your credit score? Well, there's no reason that both of us should be miserable, so go ahead and hit that thumbs up and leave a comment. That stuff costs you nothing, and it really helps me out. Your banker may not approve, but I know mine will. As always, thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.